Hello everybody, my name is Bill, welcome back to the channel, and as you can see we are at the halftime between Navy and Temple, with Navy being up 38-7. As for the individual stats for Temple, Thailand, he's gone 11 for 21, 167 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he's been sacked 4 times. Meanwhile, Kyle Young has gone 13 for 21 for 198 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and he's only been sacked once. Rushing for Temple has not been a kind affair for them today. Kyle Fox has the most yards for them at 2 yards. Howard Johnson has only 1 yard. Corey Harper doesn't have a single yard. And Ty Lane, mostly because of his 4 sacks and how this game works, the rushing yards for sacks instead of passing yards like they do in the NFL, he has 6 attempts for negative 11 yards. Meanwhile, Navy, Joseph Mooney's got 15 attempts for 51 yards. Lamont Ward has 14 attempts for 50 yards. Travis Preston's got 8 attempts for 14 yards. And Kyle Young, even without the sack, he was in the negative yards because his sack was like 4 yards. So yeah, he was already in the negatives even before he got sacked. Receiving yards, Kyle Fox is also the leader there with 3 catches for 83 yards. Mike Lobdell's got 3 catches for 24 yards. Taylor Thomas has 3 catches for 32 yards. And Fred Macklin's got 2 catches for 28 yards. Luke Hobbs is here because he dropped a pass, and Macklin dropped a pass as well. Navy's done very well. 7 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown for Rodney Vogelpohl. Daniel Jones, 2 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. And Derek Hurd has 2 catches for 19 yards and a touchdown. Joseph Mooney's got a catch for 4 yards. Joe Pagan's got a catch for 17 yards. And Travis Preston dropped a pass. The only receiver here to drop a pass, too. Blocking, Aaron Ford allowed 2 of the sacks, and the other 2, I guess nobody was even blocking the guy anyways. Meanwhile, for Navy, Zach Bowling allowed the sack. And that's about it. Temple, your leading tackler for Temple is Brian McDuffie, who's got 11 tackles, 3 for a loss. Melvin Bridges is the one with the sack. And John Spencer's the one with the interception, which he also has 2 tackles. So he didn't return the pick far. He lost yardage. Andrew James, Darnell Atkins, and Brian McDuffie. Boy, McDuffie's just done about everything for this team today. Okay. Deflected pass. No forced fumbles for Temple. Nobody's got a block, and nobody's got a safety. And no defensive touchdowns. Walter Rogers, as you saw, he's got the defensive touchdown for Navy, along with 6 tackles, none of them for a loss. We got a 4-way tie with Tyson Keller, Chris O'Neill, Derek Walker, and David McCoy, all having 2 tackles for a loss. David McCoy leads all sack leaders with 2 sacks, while Jermaine Wheeler has 1 and Chris O'Neill has 1. Walter Rogers has 2 picks, while Dylan Goddard has 1. Greg Bolly, Derek Walker, and David McCoy all have pass deflections. And Tim Goddard's the only one that's forced a fumble, but there have been 3 fumble recoveries, 1 by Bolly, 1 by Goddard, and 1 by Rogers. Rogers is negative 8 yards, although that negative 8 yard fumble return, I don't know how it was negative 8 yards, but it was recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. And Rogers also has a pick 6. Greg Pendleton, he's made an extra point, and he's kicked off twice with no touchbacks. Meanwhile, Navy, Drew Gates has had 6 kickoffs. 4 of them have been touchbacks. And Derek Knoll has made a field goal between 40 and 49 yards and 5 extra points. Drew Gates has also punted the ball 6 times. And Brandon Criggs punted the ball 5 times. Walter Rogers and Travis Preston have both returned a kick. Meanwhile, Tara Thomas has returned 2 kicks, including one for 98 yards, and the only touchdown of the game for Temple. Meanwhile, Eric Johnson's got 2 returns for 14 yards, and Chris Hampton has 3 returns for an average of 6 yards. And that's it. I'll go ahead and show you the box score. Yeah, it didn't start off too good for Temple. You see, and I want to say the pick 6 happened, but I know before that kickoff return was the fumble return in the end zone. You can watch the episode of the first quarter of the game to see for yourself. Then again, this is made by EA, and EA isn't always the best at making games, you know. But there you go. And then Temple had the kickoff return for the touchdown. Then Navy just kept pouring it on. Well, they didn't score again until like 2 minutes left in the first. Then they kind of put on a little bit of a outpour, then 10 more points. Then didn't score again until the end of the first quarter. And that is the halftime for the stats. If I have to say anything, I think for Navy, all they gotta do is just continue doing what they normally do and run the ball, because you see they've got 40 attempts and they have 303 yards of total offense. 17 first downs compared to 8 for Temple. Now Temple's got 159 yards, but they have negative 8 rushing yards. What surprises me though is the fact that Navy has more passing yards than rushing yards. Temple, they need to get something going on offense. Yes, you need to get rushing yards, but you also need to actually complete passes to your teammates and convert on third downs. 1 for 7 on third down is not the best. And you also need to score in the red zone as well. Only 1 red zone attempt, and that was ended in an interception. That's not good. And 6 turnovers, 3 fumbles lost, and 3 interceptions. So, yeah. And also, avoid another costly penalty. I think that roughing the passer penalties would kind of change the momentum big time for Temple. But as you can see, the Navy bar is only in halfway, which could help Temple out a lot. So I will go ahead and get to doing the third quarter. Until next time.